Melbourne is home to a massive 8-kilometre road project that has become a legend for its crushing costs and hidden dangers. This is the Westgate Tunnel, a city-shaping build that features twin underground tunnels, 3 new bridges, and a giant elevated highway. Engineers used more than 28,000 concrete segments to line the tunnels and lifted 91 enormous spans of roadway into the sky to build the new freeway. The project was designed to move more than 70,000 vehicles every single day and remove 9,000 trucks from local streets. However, what started as a plan to fix traffic turned into a nightmare when workers found 3 million tons of dirt filled with a hidden poison. This discovery pushed the total cost to a staggering $10.2 billion. But how did a project meant to save a city become Australia's most poisoned mega-project? The story of this massive road began in the year 2014. A company named Transurban came to the Victorian government with a big idea to fix the traffic problems in the western part of the city. For decades, the people living in these suburbs had to deal with thousands of noisy, smelly trucks driving past their front doors every single day to get to the port. At the same time, the famous Westgate Bridge was getting too crowded. It was carrying more than 200,000 vehicles every day, which meant that one small accident could stop the whole city from moving. In December 2015, the government decided to go ahead with this plan, which they first called the Western Distributor. They wanted to provide a second river crossing, so the city wouldn't rely on just one bridge. Construction finally started in January 2018, and the team hoped to finish everything by 2022. But as soon as the machines started digging, they hit a wall of legal and environmental trouble that no one was truly prepared for. Building the Westgate Tunnel required some of the most advanced technology ever seen in the Southern Hemisphere. The project was split into 3 main parts: widening the existing freeway to 12 lanes, digging the twin tunnels, and building a massive highway in the sky along Footscray Road. Each of these parts came with its own set of brutal engineering challenges. The heart of the project is the 2 tunnels that go deep under the suburb of Yarraville. One tunnel is 4 kilometres long for outgoing traffic, and the other is 2.8 kilometres long for traffic coming into the city. To create these, engineers used 2 giant machines named Bella and Vida. These machines were like moving underground factories that could dig through rock and build the tunnel walls at the same time. The technical facts of these machines are incredible. Each machine is 15.6 metres wide and 90 metres long. They weigh 4,000 tons each. To give you an idea of their power, the machines use 10 megawatts of electricity, and the giant cutting wheel at the front has a turning force of 68,291 kilonewton meters. This wheel is covered in 105 sharp cutting discs made of very hard steel to grind up the earth. The machines moved forward at an average speed of 9 meters every day. As they chewed through the dirt, they also installed heavy concrete rings to form the tunnel walls. Each ring is made of 10 segments, and each segment is 500 millimeters thick and 2.4 meters long. Working inside these machines was a high-pressure job, literally. At the deepest point, the machines were 40 meters below the surface. The water pressure down there was 3.5 bar. When workers had to go to the front of the machine to fix the cutting tools, they had to enter a pressurized airlock. This is just like deep-sea diving 35 meters underwater. After their shift, the workers had to sit in a special chamber for 2 hours to slowly adjust their bodies back to the normal air pressure on the surface. But the biggest challenge for the engineers was not the pressure or the rock, it was the dirt itself. Because the tunnels go through old industrial areas, the soil was full of dangerous chemicals called PFAS. These are known as forever chemicals because they never break down in nature. The project had to remove 1,500,000 cubic meters of this dirt, which weighs about 3 million tons. The levels of poison found were up to 0.7 micrograms per litre. To move all this wet, messy dirt, the team built a massive system of conveyor belts. The longest belt was a 15-kilometre loop that carried the dirt directly from the digging machines into a giant storage shed. From there, the dirt was put into sealed trucks and driven to a special facility in Bulla. This facility was built with thick plastic liners and a water treatment plant to make sure no poison could leak into the ground. While the tunnels were being dug, another team was working high above the ground to build a 2.5-kilometre elevated motorway. They had to do this without stopping the cars driving on the road below. To solve this, they used a giant custom-built crane called a launching gantry. This machine was 116 meters long, 40 meters tall, and weighed 1,400 tons. The gantry sat on top of concrete pillars and lifted 17 concrete segments into the air for every section of the road. Some of these segments weighed as much as 100 tons. Once the pieces were in place, workers threaded strong steel cables through them and pulled them incredibly tight to turn the separate pieces into one solid beam. The gantry moved across the skyline 91 times to finish the spans of the new road. The project also features 3 new bridges over the Melbourne River. The main bridge is 760 meters long. The design is very unique and is meant to look like an eel swimming in a fishing net. The bridges are covered in more than 1,200 special panels that shimmer in the light. These panels were made from glass-reinforced fiber and were designed to look like the scales of a fish. For people who prefer 2 wheels over 4, the engineers built something called the Dixon Veloway. This is a 2.5 kilometer long path just for bicycles that is hanging underneath the main highway. It is 4 meters wide and allows cyclists to travel all the way from the west into the city without stopping at any of the 6 busy intersections below. The Veloway is made of steel mesh and has its own lights and security cameras that watch the path 24 hours a day. It took 195 individual segments to build this suspended path, with a total weight of 1,700 tons. However, building in Melbourne also meant dealing with a very difficult type of ground called Cood Island silt. This is a very soft and squishy clay that can be 50 meters deep. If you just build a heavy road on top of it, the ground will squash down and the road will sink. To keep the bridges and roads from moving, the engineers had to push giant pillars called piles deep into the mud until they hit solid rock. Some of these piles were over 2 meters wide. The team also used complex computer programs to watch how the ground moved every single day to make sure they weren't damaging any of the houses or buildings nearby. One of the final engineering features is the 2 ventilation stacks that stick out of the ground. These are 50-meter tall chimneys designed to suck the air out of the tunnels and blow it into the sky. The air is moved by powerful fans, but many people are worried because there are no filters to clean the exhaust. A special report found that the shape of these chimneys might cause a downwash effect. This means that instead of blowing the fumes high into the air, the wind might pull the dirty air back down to the ground. The report noted that the speed of the air coming out, only 6 meters per second, is not fast enough to stop this from happening in certain winds. If the air design is flawed, could the people living nearby be paying the ultimate price for this new road? The money behind the Westgate Tunnel has caused just as much anger as the engineering. When the project was first announced, the government said it would cost $5.5 billion. However, because of the long legal fights over the poisoned soil and the delays, the price tag exploded to $10.2 billion. To pay for this massive increase, the government made a deal with Transurban. The government paid an extra $1.9 billion and Transurban paid $2.2 billion more. In exchange, the government allowed Transurban to keep collecting tolls on the CityLink highway for an extra 10 to 15 years, a deal that some people believe could be worth $37 billion to the company. Critics say this was a bad deal for the public because it was a market-led proposal, which means there was no competition to get a lower price. Local groups in suburbs like Melbourne are also still fighting for air filters, pointing out that children in the area already go to the hospital for breathing problems at a rate 70% higher than the rest of the state. After all the drama and delays, the Westgate Tunnel finally opened on December 14, 2025. The Westgate Tunnel is a massive feat of engineering that shows just how difficult it is to build big things in a modern city. It took years of hard work, giant machines, and a lot of money to overcome the squishy silt and poisoned dirt beneath Melbourne. While the new road will save drivers 20 minutes on their trips, the controversy over the costs and the air quality will likely continue for a long time. If you found this deep dive into Australia's most poisoned mega project interesting, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more engineering stories. What do you think about the $10 billion price tag? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next video. Thanks for watching.